If it hurts, game breaks, no get you know it up, put on more steam. Protect our kickers, our quarterback, our lead, our ball game. All obstacles, block, cut, sides, through the games after this win. First shit again, we're here for the first minute. Carry my team every 6 minutes. To be the man, you gotta beat the man, and I'm saying, woo, right here.
I've said it from when I got here. The expectation, the standard is to play elite defense here, not just good defense. This is the home of Eric Berry, Al Wilson, Reggie White. The standard is to be elite.
Like I said, like we play with a chip on our shoulder at Tennessee. So, you know, we get a lot of disrespect. So we want to make it clear that we're going to come out and dominate day in and day out.
Mark Stoops is 2-9 against this team, and to walk around this place before the game, I was disgusted. The smugness of those guys just walking around like, we're going to walk in here, we're going to kick your ass, and you can't do anything about it. And it made me sick. And you know what? They did it. They still did it. What the hell? Can we just beat this team? I know that Mark Stoops has done a lot of good things. This is his one really bad thing. The stupid stat about beating teams with a winning record and taking the next step and blah, blah. Just freaking beat Tennessee. Please, can we just stop losing to this stupid team with their stupid orange colors, their stupid
Western Hall song.
Oh my God, we should leave it at that.
Okay.
We should close with that. That is the mind blower of mind blowers.
Good.
Welcome to the Talkin VAWLS Network. My name is Boogie Bentley. It's Wednesday night. We're going to talk some Tennessee football. We're going to recap 2023, maybe give out some report cards. I don't know. What is this? What are we, the Dream Team? I think they called us the Avengers when we had JP on, but we swapped JP out for Coach Rice. I think we're the Dream Team. Coach Rice, the man that's got a state championship to go win tomorrow. Are you fired up? Are you pumped up?
Saturday.
See, I thought it was Friday. I'm so confused. I thought today was Friday. I don't even know what day. I was asking you. This is how screwed up I am right now. The reason I asked that question, I was like, how is Coach Rice jumping on a Friday night?
We're playing Saturday morning.
And today is Wednesday. I just said it was Wednesday, but I still thought it was Friday. The bottom line is we're going to be live together Friday once again. But how you feeling, man, going into a state championship? You got to take some pride in that.
Yeah, I mean, we've worked our tails off this year, and we've went through adversity and went through a couple of things that teams go through with every year, but we fought through it, and coming out on the other side of it, we got a good chance to win, but our guys better bring it, and I think we got a good game plan put together. So let's go win us a state championship.
Let's do it. Let's represent that. Can we claim that? Can we claim that as a Talkin
I
VAWLS
will let y'all claim that.
Perfect, perfect. Also joining us, as he does every single Wednesday night, the man with the greatest shade of orange all around him. You're glowing orange tonight, Dauber. What's going on, brother?
No other color. There's only one true orange. I think our coach said that.
Oh yeah.
But I'm good. How you guys?
I'm ready to talk some Tennessee football. We're also joined by Coach Jay, but he doesn't look like Coach Jay. He looks like you look so different. I don't know if it's the curved hat. I don't know if it's the dress shirt.
I was going to say it's the curved. It's the curved hat. It's got to be, right?
I almost said that backstage. I was like, who is that?
He popped in and it's like,
my alter ego.
This is non-football season, Coach.
Clean up, nice.
This is Mr.
Thank
J.
you.
Can we change your name to Mr. J?
Yeah, there you go. They call me Mr. J. Yeah, no, I'm doing well. I am at a hotel, as some of y'all know who are in the Tuesday night chat. Coach J is traveling the next couple weeks here, assisting with some business at the old side gig when it's not football season. Some consulting work in the middle of moving a big 16,000 square foot warehouse and kind of pointing at people and yelling at them and pretending like I'm working,
That's the best job. If you can get paid pretending to work, it's a beautiful thing. We got 100 people, 115 people flooding in here. Guys, smash the thumbs up, share out the link, all that YouTube stuff. I know the audience is going to be down tonight. Tennessee playing North Carolina. I realized that earlier today, and I was like, man, we should move the stream. Got too much going on. Couldn't move the stream. We're streaming Friday night. Roger Saliaponga scheduled to come off the board. We're going to stream that. We're going to stream the SEC championship game on Saturday afternoon for a watch party, so come join us for that. But hit the like and share, all that great stuff, and turn the basketball game on your TV. I know Dauber's got his right above his head because here in about 7 minutes, he'll be looking up in the sky the entire stream. It's okay. Do that. It's all good, man. And we'll hang out and talk some Tennessee football. Oh, you got one turn? Yeah. I got mine right here. I may turn mine on too, although I don't really care about basketball till March. Let's see who's in the chat. Rocky Top Tom is here bright and early, dropping a big Ric Flair woo. Matt Zimmerman is here. Kenny Jones is here talking about the basketball game as well. Matt is in the house. What's up, brother? Got a few super chats. Let me catch up. First, Justin Gomez becomes a member of the channel. Appreciate that support, brother. That's how this thing rolls ahead full steam. We appreciate that support. Papa J for 5 says, first door fee. Everyone follow along. Yeah, drop those door fees. Says, let's go big orange. Thank you, Papa J, for that. Gary for 5 says, door fee, GBO. I know Gary's excited for this basketball game as well. MD Vols for 5, door fee. Let's get that 9th win. Go Vols. Scotty Hurley for 5 says, pumped to swan dive into the offseason. So much movement over the next few weeks. Going to be so much fun, boys. Let's go Vols. Scotty, we're going to cover it all, man, right here on the Talkin VAWLS Network, whether it's transfer portal, recruiting. We're going to get into that coming up here in just a second. Let's kind of, I don't know, put a big bow on the 2023 season. We're going to give out some report cards. How do you guys want to do it? I said offense, defense. We can go through position group by position group, however you guys want to do it. But let's start this way. We'll put Coach Rice on the spot first. Who's your offensive and defensive MVP? Give me a coach and give me a player.
All right, so a coach, offensive and defensive coach that did good, and then offensive and defensive player.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so coach, I'm probably gonna shock some people with this one. I'm gonna go Coach Ellerby with the injuries that he had to deal with, especially early in the year, and for us to lead the SEC in rushing, I don't know. Did we finish leading the SEC in rushing?
Second. Ended up. I saw an interesting tweet that compared Josh Heupel's numbers throughout all of his years as a head coach, and this was one of the lowest rushing, but still ended up second in the SEC. I think the time, running the clock and not stopping it after first downs,
it makes a difference.
Probably has a part to do with that.
Yeah. So I'm going to say Glenn Ellerby with the, he had to be a Swiss knife there for a little bit, maneuvering guys around interchangeable parts. So I thought he did as good as a job he could have done with the line that he was given. And then defensive coach MVP, I'm gonna go Gardner. I mean, how can you not go Ronnie Gardner? I mean, that he's just so far above I mean, G. Marie does a good job of it too, as far as developing his young linebackers. But Gardner's just far above what as far as being defensive line coach, just best in the nation. I still, with the talent that he's had, that he landed in here with, and where he's taken this D line from where it was with Jeremy Pruitt to where it is now, I just you can't overdo him as far as the top defensive coach. And then best offensive player, I'm going to go Jalen Wright. Best defensive player, James Pierce. I mean, those are like, I mean, it's just obvious.
You got to go first. You got the softball. We got to get creative over here.
I was almost going to say, and I was going to let one of them take James Pierce, and it would have thrown some people off, was Jalen McCullough, because I thought he played, he's serviceable, but I think he had his best year in Tennessee Orange.
He is who he is, right?
Yeah, he is.
He's not going to magically become a 5-star.
No, but I think he had his best year in Tennessee Orange. But I'm going to tell you, because I don't think neither one of these guys are going to say Jalen McCullough, so I'm going to stick with my James Pierce.
All right, I'm going to go last. I'll let you guys take all the easy answers. Dauber, what do you got? That's a lot of information to unpack. Best coach on offense and defense and your MVPs.
So I'll hit the coaches first. I'm going to take that lob of a softball and give it to Jerry Mack on the offensive coach, because that three-headed monster, and as Coach Rice said, for the majority of the season, up near leading the SEC after that abysmal Missouri game and 80 some yards. I think that kind of did him in, knocked him down to second. But I think Jerry Mack did a heck of a job. But when you got three guys like you've got, it makes your job pretty dang easy. But
there's a strange stat out there. I don't think Tennessee put the ground on the ball running the football. Obviously, Wright had the fumble late in the season, but that was on a pass. I don't think they put the ball on the ground a single time. That's coaching. That's Jerry Mack and coaching.
Yeah. What I like about the job that he did is, and I talked about it a little bit post game. You do have three guys that could all be starting somewhere, and I did not see any selfishness. Did not see, you did have that, tweet or whatever by Small earlier in the year.
Sampson.
Dylan Sampson. But, for the most part, those three guys were, celebrating with each other and willing to do all the hard work and pass it off. Sampson got a lot of mop-up duty touchdowns that Wright and Small did the heavy lifting for. So that's one of those things. But I think Jerry Mack did a fantastic job with the running back room. And I'll go defensive wise. Listen, I'm going to go Tim Banks. I'm going to go with.
I like the balls. Take it to him, Dauber.
The
You're
captain
get a lot
of the
hate
defense,
for this.
man. I know, but like I said to JP the other night, when he was
responded to him.
Well, no, in the chat when he said
wow.
something about Banks and the defense. This defense has improved year to year to year, and you're talking about that this is his first gig as a coordinator. He's been a position coach, and he's growing and learning how to be a defensive coordinator. And you look at, he's starting to get dudes. He's starting to get guys in this defense. The defense improved greatly. And I said at the beginning of the season, that's one thing that this team has to do. They have to take strides defensively, especially considering that we all kind of anticipated a step back with the offense. And they did. They carried this team through the mid chunk of the season. And listen, guys, if the defense didn't improve, you'd be looking at worse than 8-4. Players, man, that's a tough one since the easy picks are off the board now.
Yeah, you can double down if you want.
I am going to double down on Pierce. I think Pierce was just a freaking monster. And if that guy just continues to progress and get better, just even marginally get better, dude is going to get paid, and he's going to wreak some havoc. He just can't be blocked. He's so quick off the line, and that's what they're saying in the broadcast of the Vanderbilt game. He lines up so wide that the offensive linemen, they can't even get back quick enough to sit down in their blocking stance because he's by him. And I mean, just the kid is electric. And offensive, man, dang. It's hard because you didn't really have a wide receiver that just dominated. The quarterback play was marginal at best. And you know, I'll maybe go Cooper Mays on the offensive line because we saw the first couple of games not having him there, how lost the offense looked. So getting him back, I think that helped. That, to me, it helped Joe Milton kind of hit his stride a little bit more and get into the game better. So, yeah, there you go.
Let me hit this real quick. Got a new member of the channel, Dustin Young, joins the family. Appreciate that support. Guys, you can hit that join button down below. It's $1. That's it. Just $1. That's all we're asking. I'm not asking you to be Talkin VAWLS Elite at $10. I'm not asking you to join the watch party. I think it's like $35. But, hey, that's going to be fun on Saturday. If you're at that watch party tier, I don't know. I've not even asked Dauber if he wants to jump on. I can add Coach Rice to the mix on that, too. I know I will put up the bat signal for Coach Jay. The X Factor usually comes on for those. We'll see. It's always a different cast of characters. We're going to just watch the SEC Championship game. And it's if you're a fan of Joe Rogan and his fight companions, that's exactly what it is. The game may be going on. We could be talking about cheeseburgers. You never know. If X comes on, I guarantee you we're going to be talking about nerd stuff, comic books, who knows, movies. It's just a bunch of dudes hanging out while the game is going on. We'll talk about the game. We'll talk football, recruiting. It's always a good time. So think about jumping on there. You guys get to come on. It's like a fan call-in show for that tier. But if not, like I said, $1 a month goes a long way. We would appreciate it. Coach, we've given them all the answers. I know you've been down there taking notes, coming up with a game plan. What do you got?
I'm going to go for offense. I'm going to go double aces, man. Coach Alec, tight end coach. I think he did an outstanding job with Callie all year. A kid who came in as is just a receiving tight end, but by the end of the year was a formidable blocking tight end. I think he just did an amazing job with that. And as any, offensive coordinator or offensive line coach will tell you, it is hard to take a true skilled position player and make them into a lineman who can get in tight, keep their elbows in, their thumbs up, and drive and steer inside linebackers and outside linebackers and players. It was just a position of strength for us most of the year, whether it be Warren or Callie. They seemed like they were in great condition and great technique throughout the whole year, and were able to just be kind of a stable force for us throughout the whole year. And I think it gave some stability to an offense that lacked a lot of stability at times. So that's kind of my under the radar coach for the offensive side. For the defensive side, I'm going to go Willie Martinez. Nah, psych. I'm not going Willie Martinez. I'm not going Willie Martinez.
Hey, that would have been.
I couldn't even keep it going long.
That would have been more bold than Tim Banks.
I should have just tried to convince everyone for 5 minutes and then said psych. But man, it's hard not to pick anyone other than Coach G, right? I mean, if you're looking for an unsung hero guy, though, I know Eckler spends a lot of times with the outside linebackers and honing in the rush of some of the outside guys, and Gardner does work with the ends, but I know Eck will peel off the Leos at times and work with them. And even at times I've heard that he'll run drills with guys like Hobbs and defensive linemen who can sprint into coverage too, with some of the D-line coverages popping out. But, we have a lot of youth at the outside linebacker position, and I thought Eck did a good job with bringing them along quickly, because they needed to grow up quickly. And even though you did hear from them a lot, and there were a lot of growing pains that we saw a lot from them, they were constantly improving for the most part and getting better and growing in their game. So go ahead and give me Coach Eck on the defensive side if I'm surrendering Coach G. And then for defensive MVP, I'll go ahead and take Tyler Barron. I thought, Pierce is amazing and just so fast. A lot of times it doesn't even matter. But I thought two guys on the inside were pivotal for guys like Pierce getting home a lot. Tyler Barron comes to mind, and of course 55 on the inside as well. Hopefully coming back, for another year. Norman Lott, good, but Tyler Barron was unblockable at times. It's not really his fault if he's not getting flags thrown when he's being choke slammed, because he certainly was whipping double teams up front and too fast for anyone to deal with. His footwork his senior year was elite. His foot speed was elite. You could really see those drills for him, those defensive line drills that Coach Gardner had drilled into his brain, slowed down for him in his mind, but he could do them at extremely high speed and peel through and beat people. So so much to the tune that I think he'll earn himself a nice payday come draft day for one Tyler Barron.
Let me catch up on Super Chat. Scotty Hurley for 5 says Nico was our best player on offense for about 20 snaps this year. LOL. Anthony Ray becomes a member of the channel. Appreciate that, Anthony. I appreciate that support. Talking Balls Gold. Thank you for your support. Bob with a $5 Super Chat says, who should we look at as a replacement for Willie Martinez since Coach Jay is dragging his feet? How do you know he's not in a hotel room in Knoxville? You have no idea. Yeah. You don't know that, Bob. He could be in Knoxville. Hey, sit tight on that, Bob. We'll come back. I promise we will come back and talk about Willie Martinez here in just a second. I'm going to piggyback on you guys because I let you guys go first. I'm going to go last. I'm going back to Coach Rice with Coach Ellerby. I think just the development, and again, being at the top of the SEC in rushing, and then also looking at sacks allowed. They only allowed a sack and a half per game. That was good for second in the SEC. And, we've been not necessarily critical. Look, this offensive line's been beat up all year long. Look at Coach Rice. Either he's really into the game or his internet. Oh, no, he's back. Right when I was going to clown on him. I just think the offensive line has been a strength for this football team. I hate to say it. We've said it all year long. It comes down to one thing, quarterback play. We got the running backs. The wide receivers struggled at times too. I'm not going to act like they played perfectly. Comes down to quarterback play, man. And that's why, not to bury the lead here, we're going to get into it. We're going to talk about roster management. You get some of these offensive linemen back. You find a way to land Jordan Seaton. Guess what, boys? It's time to rock and roll next year with Nico taking the snaps. The offensive line was crucial. And Cooper Mays, Javonte Spraggins coming back is huge. But also for Ellerby, it's not just about running the football. It's not just about the development, putting guys like Darnell Wright in the league. I think he can teach the game, but I also think he can recruit. And recruiting is part of it too. And in the class of 24, winning Bennett Warren, absolutely huge, legitimate offensive tackle. You had the two guys on the inside, right? William Satterwhite, Max Anderson, both 4-star guys. You had those guys in the boat. You got Gage Ginther, who a lot of people, including Coach Jay, go watch that film breakdown if you've not, thinks he's underrated. But you still needed, man, you were looking for that dog. You were looking for that offensive tackle that was a dude, and they got Bennett Warren in the boat. So I'm including Coach Ellerby for not only what he's done on the field, but what he's done off the field with recruiting. Defensively, how can you say anybody but Rodney Garner, right? I mean, you have to. This defensive line is the strength of the defense. They're going to always be the strength of the defense. And then for my MVPs, I'm going to throw a wild card out here, and it's because of injuries. We saw what, Dauber said Cooper Mays. We saw what this team was without Cooper Mays. That's what most valuable player means. They weren't as good without Cooper Mays, and that's why it's so important to get him back next year defensively. Kamal Hadden, what happened when the defense stopped getting home, right? The defensive line, regardless, make all the excuses in the world, holding, we get it. We see it. We understand it. You didn't have Kamal Hadden out there locking down one side of the field. And people were so critical of him last year, but he really started to come on. He started to play really good football. It wasn't until the stats and the numbers and his PFF grades and all that stuff started to come out that people said, oh, Kamal Hadden's playing good football, because you don't talk about a corner when he's playing good football. You only get mentioned when you're playing bad football. So I'm going Kamal Hadden on defense, Cooper Mays on offense. Guys, put it in the chat. Who are your offensive and defensive MVPs? Who is your coach of the year on offense and on defense? Let's talk about Josh Heupel. Year 3 of the Josh Heupel era. I think all 4 of us were probably at 9-3. I think most of us picked 9-3. The Missouri game didn't go the way you wanted. You laid an egg against Florida. You were up 2 scores against Alabama and couldn't get it done. 8-4 is not what we wanted, but I think we can still see progress. Dauber, has your opinion of Josh Heupel changed after year 3, or do you just still think he's the guy and we're moving full steam ahead?
I think he's the guy, and we're moving forward. The program is trending in the right direction. There are a couple things that you can kind of, squint your eyes at, furrow your brow, maybe question a little bit. A few game management type situations, and then it's his scheme, it's his offense. How much does he have control? I think ultimately he has complete control over it, but is he calling the plays or is Joey calling the plays? And
what does everybody think on that first? Like, I think Heupel's calling the plays. You guys agree, disagree?
I think he has final veto.
Yeah.
Yes, he does. He does.
He definitely has final say, but I also think Coach Halsley has a part of the game where he's calling the plays, especially a series or here and there. But I mean, Halsley's doing something as far as calling plays. He may not be as far like final drive of the game where it's key. Heupel's probably in his ear saying this is what we need to get into. But because I mean, as a OC. Unless a head coach comes out and says, he's just helping me with the game, getting the game plan together, I'm calling the play still. More times than not, the head coach will let the OC call the plays. The head coach may say, hey, we need to get into this. We need to get into that. We need to script this guy the ball, get this guy the ball. Like there's several times this year where I've seen we need to get Squirrel White the ball. We need to get Jalen Wright the ball in space. We need to get Dylan Sampson the ball in space. It's just that's how as an OC and head coach chemistry. That's why it matters so much for especially an offensive head coach to have that chemistry with his OC.
Well, let me kind of piggyback on that and maybe play not devil's advocate, but just pour a little gas on the fire. So if Halsley's calling the plays, obviously it's Josh Heupel's offense. He's very involved in the game plan, everything about it. But let's say that Joey Halsley is calling the plays. We've seen this offense have more success on scripted plays, right? At the beginning of games, beginning of halves, whatever the case may be. When plays are scripted, they tend to have more success. So how much of that do you blame on Halsley, Coach Jay?
A little bit. If maybe I could try to draw an analogy, the way I kind of look at it is I kind of look at it like, and it just depends on how they prep and how their game charts are working and how that functions. But, maybe like Halsey's kind of like Cole Trickle, right? He might be he might be steering the car and pressing the gas pedals, but Harry Hodge built the car. You know what I'm saying? Robert Duvall built that car. He monitored every, inch of the fender, how it's shaped, how it's designed. He put the carburetor in. He designed where the pedals are. He showed Cole Trickle how to race it around the track without burning the tires off of it a bunch of times. So where Halsey might be actually driving the car around the track, make no mistake, Coach Hype designed the track, designed the car, designed the engine, and certainly is telling them how he wants to draft and get around that track as he moves through the field of Days of Thunder.
That's good stuff right there, Coach Jay. I'll tell you this one thing though. I don't think you can base this year off of the offensive success and stats and play that you saw in the previous years, regardless of who's calling the plays or not, because of quarterback play.
Yeah, I will say this too. I do think to a degree, either way, and we talk about how Hype's game management time, and he's a young head coach and all this kind of stuff, and sure, that's okay too. But remember, Coach Heupel's used to run an Indy car, and he's been running monster trucks this year, or it's not the racing sport that he's been used to. He's got a different different style altogether that he's had to contend with this season. But I think you'll see a return to what we know Coach Heupel's offense is to be under Nico. That's for sure.
But I think this year you were bogged down a bit, and you weren't able to scheme ahead like you did, and necessarily play off those scripted plays and set things up, because you were super limited. I mean, how many times did we come on here and say, oh, well, they ran the, they'd run it up the middle or throw that bubble screen, or, your what 5 to 7 yard routes was like the big thing, and those comebacks. So the passing game was super limited, and I think that that impacted what you saw offensively, and definitely impacted being able to spread it and then use the tempo and space as effectively as this offense did previously.
I think we're all in agreement with that. Quarterback play, the way it limited this offense. And I think that almost makes it even more impressive that this football team went and won 8 football games for the 4th time since Fulmer was fired. Like, that's perspective, right? You were favored in 10 games, you won 8. I'm never going to be satisfied with that, but perspective, when I sit back and think about it, I'm like, man, it is nice to sit here and see Florida sitting at the house, to see South Carolina sitting at the house. And we never stressed. Never one time on this channel this year did we say, man, do you think we're going to make a bowl game? No, we just knew that was the expectation. But let's move away from, well, quarterback play hindered us. Coach Rice, anything else you saw from Josh Heupel that you think he needs to learn from, grow from? Give him some criticism, right? Is there anything you would criticize him on from 2023?
Okay, my big thing is the lack of playing young players in the games where he could have played the young players. I would love to have seen Jordan Matthews and Ricky Gibson get more run. I'd love to have seen John Slaughter get some more run. All spring or maybe in fall camp. That's what the safety you heard the most about as far as his athleticism in the back end. And then, of course, Arian Carter got hurt there at the end. I mean, about midway to the end of the season, so that kind of hampered him. But and then if it wasn't for injuries, we would have never seen Caleb Webb or Chaz Nimrod. But that's one thing. And then game management is like his decisions as far as when the game's kind of out of hand. And I won't ever agree with kicking a field goal when you're down 38-10 in the fourth quarter. When what are you trying to do there? I mean, do your stats up. I don't understand that at that point. So I think and we kind of talked about it last week about him being kind of out of himself a little bit, being shell shocked because of the year they're having. So I fully believe he'll get back to himself next year, especially if the offense gets back to going, which we probably all believe will get back to going, where Josh Heupel's offenses are from year to year.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. I think Heupel's just out of sorts at times, but I do also think it's true that the team adjusted as well, right? They turned into a rushing juggernaut, and he played into his strength, and kind of adjusted who they were altogether, and that's also the sign of good coach. So balancing those two things is maybe for me kind of where he struggled, and hey, that's a tough balance, and he's learning on the job, right? When they flash those stats up of what his offenses have done, year by year by year, and you see that huge drop off, that's hard to wing it on the fly, and you're gonna expect successes and expect failures when you go through something like that. So I think it was frustrating as a fan to watch at times, but also maybe semi understandable. I'm anxious to hear. Let me dig a little deeper at something Coach Rice was saying, because it might be interesting. Do you think Heupel going for those field goals was just Heupel's way of saying, look, this is what I got. I've got no other choice. This is who we are this year, and this is good as they are, and that's what they are. Deal with it.
And I could honestly see that, because, I mean, the faith and the trust he has in Joe Milton to be successful. And it's not just Joe Milton. I shouldn't say that. It's all 11 guys being able to execute what the play is called. And we talked about it. We've talked about it several times this season.
Yeah.
All 11 guys have to execute the play. Yes, it's always the quarterback we go back on, but, the wide receiver read the coverage right. Was he in the right spot? Did the offensive line shift to the right when they were supposed to? Did the tight end chip block when he was supposed to? Did he get to the route when he was supposed to? All those things matter. And did Josh Heupel by middle to the end of the year just realize, hey, we are who we are? And I fully believe that a lot of that came to it with his decision making.
It's frustrating because you look at numbers, points per game, right? Like we can talk rushing yards, passing yards, all this stuff. What matters is points per game and points allowed per game, and wins and losses. That's all that matters. And you look at points scored, right? Year one, they told us, they gave us the brand. The branding was, we're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to go out. We're going to be explosive. We're going to score points. And that first year, even though Tennessee kind of limped their way to 7 wins, they were still scoring almost 40 points a game. And it's like, damn, this is fun, man. Like, after watching Jeremy Pruitt and his joke of an offense for 3 years, this is fun. We're scoring 40 points. And then last year, leading the country in scoring offense. Like, are you kidding me? Last year was the most fun I've had watching Tennessee football in a long time. And then what happens this year? You go out and you score 31 points per game. I don't know. I don't have all the numbers in front of me, but I would dare say that's probably the worst Josh Heupel's ever had as a coach. Does anybody know? I'm making that up, but it's probably accurate. It's probably the truth. 31 points per game. Now, what if I told you? What if I laid it out for you? I said Tennessee's going to be second in the SEC in rushing yards. They're only going to allow a sack and a half per game. That's good for second in the SEC. Tackles for loss allowed. Second in the SEC. Only 4 a game. So not a lot of negative plays. This offense is set up to succeed. What is missing? One thing.
Yeah.
Execution.
So, yeah.
No, quarterback play.
Yeah. Well, so
no, I
go
mean,
ahead,
how many times did we see the correct and no? Well, quarterback play is also execution, because there were the correct play call multiple times. Guys wide open that the reads were missed. It's one of those things, and we keep going back to quarterback play. But it's just, you can beat a dead horse. That's what it is.
We're going to beat that dead horse for the season recap.
So I think that Heupel is the right guy in the right spot. He didn't have his right guy running the offense. I think had he pulled the plug and made a move a couple games into the season, we'd be sitting somewhere different right now. But the longer he waited, the less he could make that move. So
yeah,
I don't know. Go ahead, Coach Jay.
No, I was just going to say that, Vandy, anyone I can always name, Crompton liked to use the term that you throw 2 or 3 safeties back there and, Tennessee can't throw deep and beat it. But really what everyone was doing against us all year was running quarters,
Yep.
right? They were running quarters all year against us. There's a couple ways to beat quarters. One is play action at a high level. It's kind of the most obvious one and the easiest one to adjust to is a defense. But really the best way to beat it is with something like a stick route with a backside option route, and either a whip or a slant underneath from your deuces side rather than your trip side. And gosh, I wish I had a chalkboard that I could talk at it with it. But basically what you see in those is you see 2 to 3 receivers running that flat, and then you see that deep seam off of it. And then the slot on your short side of the field, right? They either run a whip route and cut to that outside flat, or they run the slant, right? And so you're trying to option that safety. And I know somewhere there's going to be a super chat to throw more timing routes, right? But there are timing routes, Tim. There are timing routes involved.
He dropped a super chat last night and said this whole thing's just been a joke.
Oh, okay, that's funny.
But it's all a gimmick.
There are timing routes on that backside stick option route. You have 2 deep routes on both sides, right? And then you have double flats underneath to your strong side, and then you have a whip or a slant to the slot on your inside. We froze the film, a couple times, Boogie, when we sat there and froze it when Squirrel was running that whip route and that slant route, and Joe was either late with it or he was overthrowing the deep seam. So the ways you beat that route, he could do it when he was throwing to the flats of that route, right? But when he had to throw the deep quarters beaters or the option route quarters beaters, Joe was unable to execute. It wasn't that the scheme was off. We had the right defensive beater on versus that. So that wasn't the issue. The issue was the execution with how we beat that specific defense. I just think, we'll come up with some wrinkles for it next year, A, and then B, I think we'll get a little more accurate quarterback to hit those fades out of the back corner of the end zone that you saw work at times, but you saw him overthrown at times too. This past season.
I want to say to the chat too, I see a lot of people in the chat talking about wide receiver play. That's fair. That is a fair criticism.
It's fair.
There were times that Joe Milton put the ball on the money and they dropped the football. And it takes, again, to what Coach Rice said earlier, takes 11 guys executing. That's a reality. I'm not saying it's all Joe, but it is all the passing game. When you look at the numbers, the way they ran the football, the way they protected the quarterback, it is all the passing game, whether it's Joe or the wide receivers. Craig J brings up a good point, and I've kind of addressed this and kind of talk out of both sides of my mouth with it. Heisman candidate quarterback Biletnikoff winners don't grow on trees, gentlemen. That's what we had last year. Oh, well, are they Heisman Trophy quarterbacks and are they Biletnikoff Award winners, or are they products of a system? Because I was told they were products of a system and they would never succeed at the next level. Now we are seeing, Jalen Hyatt succeed at the next level. So do we need elite players? That's the question. Does Josh Heupel need elite players? We're going to go there in just a second. Let me hit some super chats real quick. Hank Johnson drops a $5 super chat. The real Hank says, more women's basketball teams. Bad luck, man. We were up by 16 when I turned it on, and they come back, and we lost by 5. Pains me to watch women's basketball. Probably done. I can't say I've ever watched a women's basketball game in my life, Hank. So, but I'm glad you're watching them. I'm glad you're supporting them, and I appreciate the super chat. Good old Nate Pruitt. I'm so glad that he finally changed his name. That is excellent. That is excellent. Good old Nate. Good old Nate for 5 says, good evening, Vols fam. Hope all is well. God bless and go Vols. Good to see you in the chat. My friend Evan Counts for 5 says, want to talk about frustration? Watch Tennessee play basketball. Fire Rick Barnes, 37-21 North Carolina right now on the game tracker over at ESPN. Man, Rick Barnes gets so much. It would be exhausting to be a Tennessee basketball fan. It's every year they want to fire Rick Barnes. It's like, oh, man. It only matters when you get to March. That's why I don't really care about basketball. Hank for another 2 says, all they do is brick. I can't take it no more, man. I'm sorry, Hank. Hang in there, brother. Hang in there. Things are going to get better. Maybe or maybe not. I have no idea.
I do have one more criticism that I can throw towards Josh Heupel being the head man, and that's red zone efficiency. Particularly this year, that was something that was dreadful.
74th in the country.
Yeah, I think you're not going to be elite. You're not going to win games against good teams. Not capitalizing when you get the ball in the red zone, and that's there were times you look at the Missouri game. What plagued us against Alabama and even the Kentucky game. We got the ball down into the red zone and settled for field goals. The Missouri game, we couldn't even get the ball into the red zone because we couldn't move the ball, couldn't run the ball. So when this offense bogs down, there are big problems. And again, it comes down to execution from all 11 guys, particularly quarterback play, making the right reads, getting the ball to the open people, and all of that. So, but yeah, you got to put points up. You can't just be stagnant.
If you want to be elite, you got to score in the red zone. If you want to be elite, you got to go to bonfire.com/store/Talkin VAWLS. You can join the Cult of Eight. The Cult of Eight. You can probably figure out what that means. You can rep that number 8. You also got the Talkin VAWLS letter shirts, all the merchandise, bonfire.com/store/Talkin VAWLS. I know you guys want to give this to your loved ones. You better get in where you fit in. If you want it for a Christmas present, give them time to print and ship. You probably need to order within the next week or two. The link is in the description below. You can jump in there and pick up all of your favorite Talkin VAWLS merch. Also, shout out to you members of the channel. Appreciate your support. If you don't have a Power T beside your name, I've been told that you're probably a Florida Gators fan. You want to fix that? Hit the join button down below for $1. $1 is all it takes to get that Power T beside your name. Also, access to custom Talkin VAWLS emojis, fan call-in shows, all kinds of fun perks and benefits. Coach Rice, to cut you off. What did you want to say, brother?
Well, and one thing I'd say about Coach Heupel and the progress he's made within this program, we all got to remember, and it's painful to remember how bad we were in 2020, and the quarterback play and the defense, just everything full scale was just not in a good state. And where we are now, that's why I will never say to this point Josh Heupel's not the guy. Like he's the guy. He's got us so far in 3 years, and it's just you've seen coaches that put in the situation that Josh Heupel's put in. No, there was no chance of succeeding. He had to come in, restore the culture. Get the guys out that needed to get out and bring the guys in that needed to get in. And Hendon Hooker was the champion of all that. I mean, he was the guy that Tennessee needed, and it was the perfect fit. And we just so happened to have a couple beast wide receivers, and just everything was married together, perfectly for Josh Heupel. And I think going forward that Josh Heupel knows what am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
Yep.
Okay. Knows what Josh Heupel, he knows what is successful in his program, and he knows how to keep it there. Was Joe Milton the best QB for this program this year? Now, I want just a quick answer. Was Joe Milton was he the best available QB for this team this year?
Day one, maybe. Midway
I know Coach Jay.
Not.
I know Coach
Absolutely
Jay's choice.
not. Like
Well,
I just and again, like we've talked this to death. It's like none of us can grasp it. None of us can understand it. And I think I've been pretty fair of Joe week by week. But it's like by the end of the year, it's like, okay, I'm ready for Nico. This is enough is enough.
Well, it's like I said though, you only had so long before you could legitimately make that move. Before, if you do that and things turn out better than what you were getting, then the egg's on your face for not making that move sooner. So
it's so strange too, though, because it's almost like Josh Heupel's protecting himself, right? It's like year 3, 8-4, and we're all saying, "Oh, we're fine because we got Nico." Whereas if he had played Nico early and Nico didn't deliver for whatever reason, then we're all going, "We're screwed."
Yeah, I agree. I thought he, I don't know what you want to call it, sandbagged, held his cards a little bit longer, whatever you want to say. I do think there's some truth to Josh playing a little bit of the long game this past season. I do believe that. There's no doubt about it in my mind.
But why?
Oh my gosh, you sound like my 3-year-old.
11
Why?
11-2 season. Why do you do that?
Me too. That's the most frustrating thing. Why are we in cruise control? Culture is a good answer.
That's the only reason why I thought that whole year was why. Because there's nothing that has shown me that Joe Milton is a better option than yes. We haven't seen Nico really play, but Nico's got so much more potential, I feel. And as a freshman, go ahead and get those. He's going to win us some games. Go ahead and get those growing pains out. And by next year, he's ready for a Heisman campaign. But now, no, I don't think it could be worse. No.
I mean,
that was a question we just had, right? It's like, what would the record be if Nico had started from day one? Worst case scenario, probably 8-4. And I saw somebody on VolQuest post this week, because that's all I do is scroll VolQuest, because transfer portal rumors that we were going to get into, but we're almost an hour into the show. But they said, go back and look at what everybody was saying about Nico before he committed to Tennessee. And go take a look at that versus after he committed to Tennessee. It's funny how people's perspective changes because he's coming to the University of Tennessee. 8-4. Nico starts day one, true freshman. 8-4 is the floor. What's the ceiling? Coach Jay says undefeated national championship.
It's like I don't know what the ceiling is. That's a tough question. I think he was capable of turning in as good of a year as Bryce did at Alabama. Let's put it that way. And taking nothing away from Bryce, you all know I'm closer with Bryce than I am by a long shot with Nico. So and dang proud of that kid. Just ticked that he went to Bama. But he accomplished a lot, and I think Nico is on that level. So that's just what old Coach Jay's eyes are telling him, and other coaches he's been around are telling him. So I think Nico could have turned in a season that good. Certainly. Would we have still been plagued by, injuries and as many drop balls and, all that's kind of hard to say and impossible to say anyway. So anyone sitting here and could pretend, that they could see all ends is lying to you. So I do believe, though, he was capable of turning that in. And I do believe that he'll show next year that he's more than capable of turning in a performance like that.
Let me catch up on Super Chats, and then I want to come back to Bob's Super Chat because I told him we were going to, and I didn't think we would be 54 minutes. I knew I told my wife, I was like, I really don't have a lot of talking points, but I got Coach Jay and Coach Rice on the show, so it's probably going to be 2 hours. I was like, I don't have to plan anything. These guys will never shut up. I don't have to do it. It's going to be an easy show. She was like, how long you stream? I'm like, an hour? Never mind. I got the coaches on. Probably 3 hours. I'll see you after you're asleep. Hank for $2 says, man, I'm ready for baseball. Maybe. I hope. Geez, Hank's struggling with battered ball syndrome tonight. He is struggling watching Tennessee and North Carolina. 46-27. I told you guys, you shouldn't have watched basketball. Have you noticed our numbers are going up? We got more live viewers the more that Tennessee sucks on the hardwood. Pecan for $10. Appreciate that, Pecan. Top donor of the night right now. You want to beat Pecan? You want to knock him off his throne? Drop a super chat more than $10. He says, are we going to go back to being a high-speed, fast tempo next year, or will be back like this year? How much of it was Heupel offense all along or goalish? Go watch a few USF games. It's quarterback play. It was check with me because of Joe Milton. That's it. I'll die on that hill. It was check with me because they were trying to get Joe in the best position to make the best plays. I think the offense, especially if Cooper Mays is back next year, will be firing on all cylinders. We're going to go quick next year. Evan Counts for 5 said, should Coach Josh Heupel push Joe to opt out and get ready for the NFL so he can play Nico? I think the 4 of us would probably say yes, but I don't think it's going to happen. The way that VolQuest, well, at least Kaner on Monday said he thinks that Joe's playing because of some comments he made in the post-game press conference. I would push Joe to opt out. Hey, we want you to get ready for the draft, man. You got to focus on you. I would lie straight to his face, and then I would get Nico ready to go out for the bowl game. Good old Nate Pruitt for $2 says Nico brings a natty in 2, cultivate. Appreciate that, Nate. Thank you for the super chat. Guys, we got almost 250 people watching. You guys must have given up on the basketball team. If you're coming in late, smash a thumbs up, hit the share button, let somebody know we're live. Don't forget, we're going to be live on Friday night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Myself, Coach Rice, Coach Jay. We're going to take you all the way up to the live commitment of Roger Saliaponga right here on the Talkin VAWLS Network. So come hang out for that. It sounds like an Oregon-Tennessee battle. Did Tennessee do enough? They threw to the tight ends quite a bit against Vanderbilt. Was that by design? We're going to break it down. We're going to talk about it Friday night. Saturday, SEC championship game, Alabama, puke, Georgia, puke. We're going to watch it live on air. We'll talk all things Tennessee football and watch that game as a family. We'll have some fun. It's always a good time doing the watch parties, so make sure you tune in for that as well. Hank drops another $5, says, I'm not saying fire Heupel. I'm just saying if he don't work out, goalless turned around USF. If it happens, I think we should go should get Golish back. I think that's what Hank is trying to say. I don't think that's going to be a problem. I think next year he says, I'm sorry, Boogie, I can't type. It's okay because I can't read. So it all works out. It works out just fine. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think everybody's going to be back to singing the praises of Josh Heupel. One thing I do want to talk about before we get into roster movement and transfer portal and all that stuff is Willie Martinez. His contract expires in February. A lot of rumors that he was going to retire. VolQuest says, not so fast, my friend. It doesn't necessarily look that's what's going to happen. We shall see if he does move on, if he retires, if he gets fired, if he gets terminated. I know a lot of people are talking about the corner coach, the secondary coach from Florida. I've heard LSU. I've heard Georgia. You guys have any? I'm not a big coaches guy. I'm not a position. If I know who coaches position groups at Tennessee. Anybody that you guys think Tennessee should go after for a corner secondary coach? Jump in, whoever.
I would. I mean, the Florida guy. I mean, he does make a lot of sense, but I kind of float something out at Zach Arnett. I don't know if he's in. I don't know what type of if he's in trouble or anything, or the reason why he just got the quick boot at Mississippi State, but. I mean, me personally thinks he'll probably go get a DC job somewhere, but I think he's in mainly DB guy, but that would be someone who I'd be interested going to get.
I'm trying to remember the guy's name. Utah. There's 2 really, really good secondary coaches at Utah. I'm trying to scroll to find them. But I would definitely take the one that's not making $800,000 a year. I think there's one that's making, somewhere in like the $400,000-$500,000 range over at Utah. His name is just escaping me at the moment.
Sharif Shah.
There you go.
Corners
Nailed
and
it.
Special teams coordinator.
Yes, perfect. Also, Arizona's defensive secondary coordinator is a really good one as well. Played for the Green Bay Packers. For a stint, and then really has done a lot with very little at the University of Arizona. So there are definitely some guys on that list that I would be taking a look at, because also Brian Borland at Kansas. I think he's done a really good job over at Kansas as a secondary coach. So he's someone I would look at it as well.
I like that one.
Yep. Yeah. So there's guys out there is the point. You're going to have to pony up some money. Hey, look, college football is aware that secondary coaches make some money. So you're going to have to pony up a little bit to steal one of these guys. But there's certainly certainly guys that stick out, that are good coaches, that are very capable coaches. Evan Cooper at Nebraska also sticks out. Another good secondary coach, a great teacher, and teaches opportunistic defensive secondaries very well. So someone who could turn over, pump up that turnover rate would be good for this cornerback group as well.
I want to give a shout out to Pecan. He just gifted 5 Talkin VAWLS memberships. That is not cheap. Some of you guys got a free membership. You get a test the waters. Come hang out. Use those custom Talkin VAWLS emojis. Show them what they've won. Put those custom Talkin VAWLS emojis in the chat. By the way, Kevin, if you're in the chat, I don't know if he's here. He was here earlier. My brother, he does all of the custom emojis for us as far as cartoon design. We need a Coach Rice emoji, and he needs to have a frown. He needs to have a frown on his face because my wife said, "Was Coach Rice pissed at you?" And I was like, "No, why?"
After the Alabama game.
Yeah, she was like, "He looked so mad," and I was like, "I think he was pissed about the game."
Yeah.
Coach Rice emoji got to be incoming. Let's get it going, Kevin. If you're in the chat, if not, I'll try to text him later.
That or the picture was frozen.
That could be both. Could have caught him at the wrong time. Caught him at the wrong time. Yeah, we got to get a Coach Rice emoji. Like,
I'm done.
It's always. I saw people in the chat earlier, and they posted the me and Dauber and Coach J emojis, and I was like, man, Coach Rice being left out. So let's get to work on that. Timothy McGee for 2 says, "Hey Boogie, more timing routes, less option routes. That's the key to success." That's a T-shirt. Maybe I'll just sell that T-shirt. Shot by Andrew for 2 says, "What's up, guys?" Timothy comes back with another 2 and says, "Is Martinez gone?" Not yet. His contract expires in February. We'll find out rumors whether he's going to retire or whether he's going to get terminated. Yeah, there's Kevin in the chat. He's got it. Get that. Give him the pose. Give us that ugly frown. We need a frown. We need a frown. Oh God, you couldn't. Oh, that was epic. That was epic. All right, let's wrap up the show by talking about roster movement and transfer portal. Oh, look at all the notes. Oh, I love notes. I love you guys when you take
transfer notes. Guys, man.
Are you one of these guys that every time Nelson and Jackson retweets with the monkey on the phone, you're like, oh my gosh? I waste so much time chasing down transfer portal. Is there a connection? Who follows him?
Yeah.
Does Rodney Garner follow him? Does Glenn Ellerby follow him? It's such I spend so much time on it. I've dropped a couple of transfer videos already. Going to drop more. They're coming your way. Offensive line returning though is huge though, right? You know, we talked about the guys that didn't go through senior day. Cooper Mays, Javonte Spraggins are the 2 big ones that stand out. I mean, you're returning. Andres Carrick is going to be back. Your interior offensive line is intact. Dane Davis didn't go through senior day. I think he's going to be back. And I said in the video earlier today, I don't think he's not going to be a starter, but he's a guy that adds depth for you, right? That's huge for me when we're looking at where does Tennessee need to go in the transfer portal. Well, returning Cooper Mays, Javonte Spraggins, and that's not happened yet, but I think it's going to happen. That plays into it. Guys out. Let's start there. Guys transferring out. Obviously, Dauber earlier in the week, the Dylan Sampson rumors came out. I think that was an NIL play. I don't think Dylan Sampson's going anywhere. I think he knows he's running back number 1. I think he knows he has a huge opportunity in front of him. I've heard some buzz around Elijah Herring because it looks like Keenan Peely could very well be coming back. And if so, Elijah Herring's going to be a 2. He's not going to be a starter. Does he look elsewhere? Some of these young wide receivers, Caleb Webb, Chaz Nimrod, if Dante Thornton is back, if Brew McCoy comes back, do they look to hit the portal? Anybody on this roster that you think may be looking to go elsewhere? Jabari Small is another one to keep an eye on.
I think Small maybe one of those guys that looks to find somewhere where he can take the majority of the snaps. You know, I think you've got some guys kind of nipping at his heels. And I know I said earlier, the 3 guys in the running back room could all start somewhere, and they seemed like they didn't mind to share the load. But at some point, I think these guys do look forward a little bit. And you know, this is a job interview for Sundays, and you're not necessarily wanting to share that so much. So if he can maybe, and we saw the NIL play last year and how that worked out. Maybe that's something that that he'll kind of poke around and do too, because if you put your name in the portal, that doesn't necessarily mean you're gone, but other schools can contact you, and that is they can also, I guess technically they're not supposed to, based on what
like you weren't supposed to pay players too, right?
Clausen told us they can't directly make those offers and whatnot, but man, you put your name in the portal, you're testing the waters, and you're fishing for that bag. So the kids say.
I gotta let's throw Coach Rice out here. Put him on the spot. You got notes. Are those players you want Tennessee to target? Are those just names that are in the portal? When you pull up the portal, there are so many names already in there. So what's your homework? What are you looking at?
Well, so I got guys. I wrote down on the left side of the sheet Tennessee potential depth chart for 2024. What we got, what we potentially got coming back, and then I investigate the transfer portal on 5 hours a day. So I mean,
living my life, bro.
Yeah,
We're such losers.
Man, we need a life.
We're not Coach Jay watching the high school game from 2 years ago, losers, but we're still losers.
I do that too. So I just got no life. So, but no, a couple guys that I've looked at, and it's still early in the transfer portal, so that's the reason why I got them not ranked in order or anything. I just got them listed. Chris Mitchell from FIU, wide receiver, 6'1" guy, was up there I think they're in the Sun Belt, either there or Conference USA. Was real solid wide receiver for them. Eric McAllister, as far as these are wide receivers, and then Eric McAllister from Boise State. He's one of the higher ranked guys, and Raymond Cottrell, what you've already talked about, from Texas A&M, and Raleek Brown from USC is another guy. And then offensive tackle, I got a couple guys, DeJuan Wingfield and Kenyatta Goodwin, who's from Florida. He's an offensive tackle in the portal. And Vincent Murphy is there's a couple guys, and I didn't get his name down, but they're guards. I'm kind of interested to see, is Tennessee satisfied with Andres Carrick and Addison Nichols? So. Would they if there was a dude and he had interest in Tennessee, would Tennessee go get another guard and go get a tackle? Which I know we need to go get a tackle, especially if John Campbell don't come back. And then I had two more down as far as, and this is just on the offensive side of the ball. Chris Tyree, you got to think about, he's a running back / wide receiver at Notre Dame, or from Notre Dame. He's a premier kick returner. We won't have D. Williams next year.
Yep.
What do we do there? I know we got a guy named Boo Carter coming in, who could probably fill that slot as we speak and be a beast. But that's someone that, running back / wide receiver depth that we could throw out there. And then, the tight end room, as far as the portal goes, they got their own little hotel room they stay at. There ain't been much tight end go into the portal as of yet, but we all know there'll be a couple tight ends get into the portal, and that's just on the offensive side of the ball. I know you've mentioned a couple guys on the defensive side of the ball. One guy that I saw, and this will be the last guy I talk about, the guy from Indiana. He entered today. He's a safety, probably the top safety in the portal right now. I can't remember his name because I didn't get a chance to write his name down, but He's another guy that I wouldn't mind. I don't know if he's got interest in Tennessee, but I know there is kind of an Indiana Tennessee connection there. As far as didn't Charles Campbell go there when he an Indiana guy?
Yeah.
Of course, I know Charles Campbell's a Tennessee guy.
Yeah.
Philip Dunham. Philip Dunham.
Yeah, Philip Dunham. Yeah,
and
that's
he's graded.
that's
He's graded out as a 4-star.
Yeah.
As a transfer, 93.2 as a sophomore. So he's still got some eligibility left too.
Yeah, and that's exactly the why he's him a sophomore. That's exactly why I identified him as a potential, target Tennessee could go get.
What do you think about that, Coach Jay? Like, I made a video earlier today on an offensive tackle, Jalen Travis out of Princeton.
Yeah.
And a lot of people go, oh, you were talking about a Princeton kid. Nobody cares. Oh, really? Do you care about McAllen Castles? Because Coach Jay was just talking about, Coach Ablin and what he's done with the tight ends and McAllen Castles and that development. It's almost like the minor leagues, right? It's a 1-year business trip. So that's kind of my question, Coach, is – a guy like Jalen Travis only has 1 year of eligibility versus the safety that Coach Rice is talking about. You got a couple of years there. Like eventually Tennessee has to get away from this one and done guy. Like, we can't just keep going to the portal, bringing a guy in for 1 year, and then they're off to the NFL or they're done playing football. Eventually you got to have some guys that and I think that's where Josh Heupel's at, right? You're still in the midst of this rebuild. If you're the coach, are you looking for one and done guys? Are you looking for business trip guys? Or are you looking for guys with multiple years like a Andre Turrentine, like a Wesley Walker?
I think you're looking for a mixture of both, but primarily just the top rated guy that can help you, period. And as far as where they came from, I don't really care where they came from. NFL scouts don't care where people came from. How many times have you heard an NFL roster introduced over the past 15 years and they've come from a no-name, nobody school? They'll find you in the NFL no matter where you're from. And I do think that same kind of, general principle is coming to college now that you're kind of getting that graduating to the big league type thing. So you're going to start seeing those, those freaks of nature that went to smaller schools or started blooming, a little bit later. As far as Vols that, could enter the transfer portal, I think Caleb Perry is one that could, with how loaded we are at linebacker. I think Christian Harrison is someone who could possibly enter the transfer portal as well as Small. As far as people I'd like to see us get, Anais Peoples from Duke, really good defensive inside tackle, comes to mind, kind of a game wrecker. Zaylen, I can't remember his last name, from Memphis, also comes to mind as a defensive lineman.
Defensive lineman.
Yeah, defensive.
They've got an interior offensive lineman too. That's
do they?
That is a one to keep an eye on.
Okay, yeah, I know. Jones, Kendrick Jones from North Carolina, that we might see in a bowl game. Is also a good-looking kid, a highly rated 4-star prospect who, has had some issues, but I don't think he's a culture problem. Is also a good guy in that defensive interior, which I think they are targeting. Could definitely be someone that comes along and helps the Tennessee Volunteers. So, I just think you want to find the best people. Hopefully they have multiple years, but I don't think it's a deal killer, especially if they're a game wrecker or someone who could really be that one player that pushes your roster over the hump, moving forward.
Well,
Darby, you don't have to. Well, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think you're right. It is you're looking for guys that can fill a hole, because there are some holes, there are some needs, and if it's a 1 year guy, so what? If it's a guy that can come in and you can, plug them in for multiple years and they can grow and develop within the system, that's great too. But what you don't want to do is, change the trajectory and the momentum that the program has right now. The transfer portal has been huge in this turnaround, and this staff has hit some big time home runs with guys they've brought in, and the impact that they've made in the game. I mean, we talk about quarterback play, and that's been the theme all year. You know, going back to last year, you look at Hooker, who excelled. You look at Milton, who did. Both of those guys are transfer portal guys. So it is that, you know, it's the transfer portal accelerated the turnaround and the rebuild for Tennessee and Coach Josh Heupel. But it's you don't want to get in the case of relying solely on that, because you want to develop and you want your program to feed itself. And then you kind of bring in those guys. And that's what I was saying when I questioned the whole, well, you know, 11-2 last year, why not play the best quarterback? Why not? You know, I think at the first of the year they thought it was Joe, and then they waited too late to pull that plug. But why? You know, because winning breeds that success. Winning breeds success on the recruiting trail, and then you just you build and you keep stacking that, and you know that's where you become elite. So I think that's a misnomer of a question. You can't really say, well, do we look at guys that only have 1 year? Do we look at guys from certain places? I think you've got to look at the whole picture and the state of where you're at right now and the needs. And Coach Rice brought up a good point. Are there guys out there that are better than options that we have? And is that a case where you say, hey, you know, maybe you need to look at the transfer portal. Maybe you need to find somewhere else. And that's a difficult decision. And that's, let's face it, the reality of college football right now, because it's a business. And like we've talked about before, these players and these coaches, they're not going out there to tank. They're going out there to win ball games, because the coaches, that's how they make their money. The players, that's, you know, their stepping stone to make money in the NFL. So it's a exciting time. You know, the whole transfer portal and all this roster movement. But it's really changed college football.
But I think it came at the right time for Tennessee. Without the transfer
100%.
portal, Tennessee would have been buried.
Agreed.
And that's why
yeah.
I think the more we move into this rebuild, we'll see less activity in the portal and more player development, right? And that's where the question of the balance, when do you start playing young guys versus, oh, I'm just going to go to the portal and I'm going to get this offensive tackle. And I'm telling you, boys, go watch the video today on Jalen Travis, the Princeton offensive tackle, the transfer portal video from this morning. I like this kid. In Tennessee, I said it in the video, I said it tonight, they're evaluating every offensive tackle and every tight end that enters the portal. And I think Jalen Travis, he was one of the highest graded offensive linemen in the country several weeks into the year. Like he is that dude. He's intelligent. He is a team player. He's a good kid. He's got his head on his shoulders. I think he is a guy that Tennessee should and maybe will be looking at. That's why I made the video today. Go ahead, Coach Rice, and then we'll get out the door here.
This class that is coming in right now, especially if we close it out with guys like Jordan Seaton, especially Kai Bates, maybe one or two more guys, but those two being the main two, I feel this class will be, after their freshman year, the stepping stone to where you see us not rely so much on the transfer portal. Yes, there's always, and we've seen it already, there's always going to be some dudes in the portal that's going to pique your interest. And if you got to recognize as a coach, coaching staff, if he relays interest in your program, then you just got, hey, maybe we do need to take a look at this dude. But at the same time, that's why you're building recruiting classes after recruiting classes. You need to trust yourself, your evaluations, and your guys that you already have on your roster, and say, hey, maybe we don't want to take a chance of messing up our culture with this one dude. Maybe if we evaluate him wrongly, he could come in and, be a cancer. Well, that's one thing that coaches got. That's a whole thing talking about roster management. The coaches got to sort through not only what's their skill, but what's their attitude in the locker room. What's their coach being coachable? Are they coachable? So there's so much Josh Heupel and these coaches on the coaching staff and the roster personnel people that work behind the scenes that they got to do, and it's just unreal the hours they put in, especially during the season, but even going into the off season.
Especially this month. This month is the worst.
Yeah.
But I think that'll tie a bow on roster management. We ultimately want it to be where kids want to come here. And Josh Heupel gets to sit down and say, do I want this guy? Do I not want this guy? Versus, I mean, we need an offensive tackle. We got to go to the portal and hope the best comes available. Everybody wants to know where you got the sweatshirt, Coach Rice.
This
Everybody's
sweatshirt?
asking. Yep.
There's a place in Jackson that it's not a franchise place. It's actually, I can't remember. I ain't gonna take it off.
Take it off right here on there.
No, I can take it
off.
He
almost did it. He almost did it.
Oh man.
No,
moment.
It's a Russell brand, so it's not Nike brand, but I got this place in Jazz. I can't remember the store what it's called, but my wife actually got it for me. So
Coach Rice gave you no information. Hey, we're out the door, man.
I'm sorry.
We could have stayed live for another hour, and I love it. That's why, hey, you got to make sure you're subscribed. Make sure that bell is clicked for notification. Make sure you're following us on all social media platforms, whether that's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all that stuff, so you guys know when we're going to go live, because the off season is a crapshoot. I like typically to do Wednesday nights, so maybe we'll do some Wednesday night live streams. Don't forget, though, Friday night, 7:30, myself, Coach Rice, Coach Jay, Roger Saliaponga. We're going to take you all the way up to the commitment. Saturday, we're going to do a watch party for the SEC championship game, and then I don't know where we're going from there, man. I have no idea. We're going to talk recruiting. We're going to talk transfer portal. We're going to wing it. If there's stuff to talk about, we'll do a live stream. I'll be making videos every day, tracking down all the rumors of the transfer portal for you guys. We're going to bring back the film breakdown coming up. Coach, I already forgot who we were going to talk about. We were going to talk about a couple of offensive linemen. I can scroll up here and no, we're not. We already did that. Oh, we are going to do Jordan Seaton. We're going to do Jordan Seaton and Josh Petty, a 4-star who is ultimately going to be a 5-star. Let me tell you, he's going to be a 5-star. Grew up as a Tennessee fan. That's going to be a film breakdown coming your way sooner rather than later. But we're going to get out the door. Coach Rice has to go eat. So for Coach Rice, for Coach Jay, for Coach Dauber, I'm not a coach. My name's Boogie Bentley. This is the Talkin VAWLS Network. Go Big Orange.
That we call home, and it's night and I'm alone and